Deals are won and lost in the discovery process. Point blank, end of story. All right, Justin J. Johnson here with an important technique that's going to drastically improve your discovery. This is why it's so important. Deals are won and lost in the discovery process. And many times it's because reps can overcomplicate and overthink what it means to be great at doing discovery. Your end goal with great discovery is being able to have conversational discovery. Deals are won and lost in the discovery process. Point blank, end of story. There was a study done years back where they studied hundreds of executive buyers and they asked a simple question. When you were in a competitive evaluation, when you were evaluating multiple vendors that were similar in their offerings, what was the number one thing that you focused on to help you choose your vendor of choice? And the overwhelming first response was their experience during the buying process. And the best way to provide a great experience to a buyer in the buying process is doing and being able to execute conversational discovery. And the F.A.L.L discovery technique is a great way to help you do it in a simple way, no matter what you're selling, no matter how big the deals are. So let's break it down. F.A.L.L, F-A-L-L. So the first letter F stands for frame. So one of the big mistakes that reps make when they're going into discovery is they just ask questions. And one of the problems with just asking questions is the buyer on the other line is trying to understand where you're trying to go. So think about this. You never go out in your car, try to go anywhere without being clear on what the destination is, right? So one of the first things you have to do in discovery is help frame the context so the buyer knows where you're trying to go with a question or a line of questions, because otherwise they're going to get irritated and frustrated, poor experience, lose the deal. So I'll give you an example of framing a question. If you're selling to VPs of sales, you could simply say something like, hey, every time I talk to a VP of sales in 2023, they're getting squeezed by their CFO, they're trying to increase their productivity per rep, and their company is trying to reduce their burn rate because they don't want to do a down round. And then that's the frame, right? So by setting the context of the frame, that's going to help drastically the answers that you get. It's going to improve the conversation. And by also framing the question, you're going to show the buyer that you're coming in educated and with a point of view. Because that's another thing that reps make the mistake of doing. They come in and say, well, tell me what your priorities are, right? If I'm the buyer, you should have an idea of what my priorities are and come in with a hypothesis or point of view that I help discuss with you. So the frame helps me know as the buyer that you're informed, and it helps me know the destination that we're trying to go. So it's a better experience. So frame it. That's the F. A, simply ask. Ask the question that you're going to ask. And after you frame it, and then you ask the question, you're going to get a much better answer for it. So for this instance, hey, Mr. and Mrs. VP of Sales, everyone that I talk to is getting squeezed by their CFO. They're worried about having another down round. They're trying to increase productivity per rep. Help me understand from your perspective over the next 6 months, is increasing rep productivity one of the top initiatives on your plate? So I frame the question and then I ask the question. Okay. So that's the A. The L stands for listen. It's very simple. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. There's been study after study done by Gong and other conversational intelligence tools about the impact of listening more than you speak. And it's really important that when you're getting an answer to your question, because at this point you properly frame the question, you gave them context, then you ask the question. Now is not the time to start thinking about your next question. Now is the time to be fully locked in and present and listen, actively listen to the words that they use, because the specific words that they use are going to inform the next step of the process. So F is in frame, A is ask, and the first L is simply listen. Okay. Now, the next L stands for layer. So when you think about layering, this is where the good stuff really comes out in a conversational discovery. Because you frame the question, you gave them an idea of the context and where we're trying to go with this. You ask the question, you listen to their answer, and then what's really important when you ask a layering question, you use their language to do a couple of things. One, to show them that you're listening. Two, make sure you're aligned with how they're thinking about it, because you might interpret it in a different way than they mean it. So that helps you clarify to get alignment there, which helps build trust. And that's a better buyer experience, which goes back to my original point of how important this is. And by simply doing that, you're focusing on what they care about and where they're currently at, versus what a lot of reps make the mistake of doing is they ask a question, get an answer, and then they go to the next question, right? But by you staying in the pocket, as I like to call it, you're able to get a lot more insights into what's presently being shared with you. So let's bring it back to the previous example. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. VP of Sales, everyone that I talked to in 2023, they're getting squeezed by their CFO. They're worried about having a down round, and rep productivity is something that they're really trying to do right now. Help me understand from your perspective, at your company in the next 6 months, is increasing rep productivity one of the top things that you're focused on? And then they might say answer like, well, it's definitely something to focus on. As a VP of sales, one of my jobs is to always try to increase rep productivity quarter after quarter, year after year. So yeah, it's definitely one of the top things that we're thinking about. Great. So there's a lot to unpack there. He validated this as something that he's thinking about, but it's not clear to me that this is his top priority. And let's say my solution is 100% geared towards increasing rep productivity. I got to get crystal clear on where their heads are at so that I can be aligned with where they're at and we can be on the same page going forward. So instead of me saying, great, thank you, next question, I say, you acknowledge it. I appreciate you sharing that. You said something interesting and I'd like to get some clarity on. You said it's one of the top things you're thinking about in the next 6 months. Can you help me understand what the other things are that you're thinking about? So by me simply paying attention, because if I wasn't actively listening, I would have missed those specific words that he said. By me actively listening, I was able to use his language, his or her language, to ask a layering question to get much more clarity on what they share. See, it's important to remember 9 times out of 10, the first answer you get to a question isn't the answer that you're really looking for. So you have to ask clarifying questions and layering questions to truly get more insights. And then from there, if you want to have some more fun with this and really become a master at this, you just continue the F.A.L.L framework. When they say, when you ask the follow-up question, hey, what are the other top priorities? And they say, well, rep productivity, we got to hire more people, got to fix our onboarding program. Great, actively listen, and then you repeat it again. Hey, help me understand, of those 3 that you just shared, can you rank them in order of 1 through 3? Right? By asking those clarification layering questions, that's how you get aligned with people. So if you want to set yourself up to win more deals, have better conversations, simply use the F.A.L.L framework to simplify how you think about discovery, and you'll be in a much better shape. Simply have an informed framing context communication to help them know where you're going with the conversation. Then you ask the question, actively listen to their answer, and then ask a layering question. Hope this was helpful. Use it, burn it down. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out. My name is Justin J. Johnson. I'm the founder of the Beautiful Savage Sales Academy. I look forward to seeing you next time.